Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Bernadette Lloyd, the Chair of the Board of Bank First. Our formal company name is Victoria Teachers Limited, but throughout this afternoon's meeting, I'll refer to us as Bank First. It is now 4 o'clock, and I welcome you to the 48th Annual General Meeting of the company. In this very important NAIDOC week, I acknowledge that we're broadcasting from the traditional lands of the First Australians, notably the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, and I pay my respects to their elders past and present. This year, as you can see, we're experiencing a very different AGM due to the COVID-19 environment. For the safety of you, our members, the management and staff of Bank First, your board resolved to hold this year's AGM as a virtual meeting. We hope that next year we'll be able to meet with you face-to-face, but the new context suggests we will always have a digital component to our AGMs from now on. We believe and hope that this might mean that more members can be involved. Before we begin the actual proceedings, there are a few housekeeping matters I wish to highlight in relation to the running of this meeting. If you have not already voted ahead of the meeting, the online poll will now open and will remain open until I declare the poll closed at the end of this meeting. And this will be after we have addressed all items of business and responded to member questions. When the poll is opened, you will see a polling icon. To vote, simply click on that icon to see a list of resolutions and voting options. There is no enter or send button. You may cancel your vote and enter a new one whilst the poll remains open. You may also ask a question by clicking on the speech bubble icon to open the message box. Simply type in your question in the box at the bottom of the screen and click on the arrow to send. Your questions will be addressed toward the end of the meeting and after all formal items of business have been dealt with. As usually occurs at our AGMs, we will hear from the winner of this year's Annual Teachers Initiative Program, or TIPS Award. We will also be providing details regarding Bank First's achievement and performance over the past financial year. We will make a formal farewell to our immediate past CEO, William Walkie, who retired last month after 18 years of service, and hear from our incoming CEO, Michelle Bagnall, who will take up the role in February 2021. As we have a quorum, I now declare the Annual General Meeting open. I will start with some introductions. So online we have your directors, Mr. Graham Willis, Mr. Michael Monister, Ms. Judith Crowe, Mr. Simon Terry, Ms. Joanne Dawson, Mr. Mark Duvidarson. Please notice that all directors have various portfolios, and these are listed in the full financial report, a copy of which you may have already downloaded from our website. As well, we have Mr. Matthew Ricker, our acting CEO, and Ms. Emily McGrath, Company Secretary. The executive management team are also online. They are Mr. David Percival, Mr. Adam Alsbury, Mr. Glenn Borg, Ms. Elspeth Torelli, Mr. Mark Thompson. Mr. Melvin Prasad and Mr. David Rogers of Deloitte, the company's external audit firm, are also present. I also extend a very warm welcome to our formal directors and to our business partners and invited guests who have also joined us, including Bob Carpenter from Wisewold Marnie and Melina Morrison from BCCM and John Hutchins, one of our past chairs. I confirm that the minute secretary is Karen Mills. I also advise that the proceedings are being recorded and this will be the only authorised recording. A copy of this webcast will be made available to all members on our Bank First website. I also welcome Ms. Faith Sullivan of Computershare Investor Services as our appointed returning officer for 2020. I take this opportunity to remind you that we are a strong, purpose-driven bank with an authentic set of values and culture. We are very clear about the why of our existence. We are not just another bank. We are a bank with you at our centre and in our hearts, and we're unafraid to say it out loud. We are invested in you in the figurative as well as the literal sense. We care about you because you care for others. As a customer-owned bank, we are placed well for the future as we know the synergies that come from cooperation and collaboration. The essence of culture and values was embodied by the founding members nearly 50 years ago and is still here, going strong. We pride ourselves on our values-based approach. Our simple but meaningful values underpin everything we do. We care, we learn and grow, we empower, and we do it for the customer. Early this year, our decisions reflected all these values. The transition to working from home for our staff is one example of how we have shown our support. Despite swiftly shifting our 150 plus workforce into a remote environment, we maintained high levels of productivity for customer service. Employee wellbeing is important, so we developed strategies for ongoing support for our people, acknowledging the impact on mental health, whilst enabling capacity building and development. You know very well that we are dedicated to servicing, protecting, and enabling people who build community. Historically, this has been the education sector, and more recently, nursing and allied health, as well as all their supporters. What a time this has been for these two broad and key sectors. Their critical role as the bedrock for the strength of our society has never been more obvious. Our Bank First Community Fund was introduced to link our heritage with our new name and to highlight our continued investment in the education and healthcare communities. The fund demonstrates the positive impact Bank First has on the community by highlighting the collective projects and organisations we support. Every year we provide funds for awards, sponsorships, donations and grants that are made available to our customers and business partners. This illustrates our unwavering belief in the impact and importance of our customers' work. We are proud to support our community and remain committed to continue to do so in the future. This takes us to one of our main community fund programs, our TIPS or Teaching Initiative program. As you know, every year we offer Victorian schools an invitation to tell us about their innovative teaching projects which would benefit from funding from us. This is one of our flagship programs. This year saw fewer applications due to the effects of the COVID pandemic, as you would understand, but we had over 50 entries with 22 winners. The diversity was outstanding despite the fewer numbers, from beekeeping to Indigenous gardens to sustainability plans. Successful schools then had the chance to win the popularity poll via voting, and this year the People's Choice winner was Solway Primary School. So let's hear from our winning school.
The Bank First Teaching Initiatives program has been running since 1993, and over this time we've supported close to 570 schools with over $700,000 in grants. In my role, I'm really fortunate to see firsthand how these grants can bring innovative teaching ideas to life that increase the engagement and learning outcomes for the students, the teachers and the support staff in schools. We support a huge range of initiatives, and every year I'm really amazed and humbled by our passionate and dedicated educators, showcasing so many inspiring ideas that come out of such a caring community. This year we supported 20 schools. Once these winners had been announced, the Bank First community had the chance to vote for their favourite initiative in our People's Choice Award. The winner of the award was Solway Primary School for their travelling library program, which will help to achieve great reading outcomes for their students.
First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to Bank First for giving us the grant money to be able to create travelling classroom libraries for our Year 2 and now for our Year 1 students, as well as having the Teachers Initiative grant and also the People's Choice Award grant. So this has really helped us to create really rich, high quality classroom libraries. We have them each contained in really colourful containers on wheels. And the reason for them being mobile is so that we can move each set of books from classroom to classroom so that our students have a new set of books to read each term.
We are very excited about the cultural books, focusing especially on our Australian Indigenous cultures, teaching us about the history of our country and exposing them into literature that is engaging for our students.
I was beyond excited to hear that we will be having a new travelling library for our Year 2 students, and I think that this is a great way to engage our students in more reading.
Something that can welcome parent helpers into the classroom and utilise them to support students in selecting rich, good quality reading materials to support them in their learning. with the aim of not only building a strong reading community, but also a strong school and classroom community.
It really will help our reluctant readers as well. It makes them open to different varieties of text and books that they may not have read before, making them eager and excited to read as well.
The COVID-19 period has taught us a lot about ourselves, about each one of us as individuals. Also, we've learned about the groups we need around us to help us to maintain and build community so as to enhance our ability to survive in a world which, as we've seen firsthand, can transform and suddenly threaten. Before you is reference to the thank you tribute we put together for our members, which you may have seen. To survive and adjust to a significant level of change, an organisation has to exhibit a high degree of adaptability. As you can imagine, process and procedures have changed at Bank First. We won't just snap back, we'll learn and review as we create our future. As chair of the board, I relish the opportunity to boast to you about what we do. We pride ourselves on putting our customers first. As we are owned entirely by our customers, we exist to financially empower people to realise their dreams, not to siphon off profits for shareholders. Our chosen vocations, as already said, are the core of the COVID-19 battle. It is so important to continue to acknowledge and support them. I must say, I've never had so many parents say how much they now really appreciate teachers. It has been music to my ears. We've witnessed challenges within the aged care industry and to the medical professions all around the world. Societies evolve and vocations play a critical role within the macroeconomy. We will continue to recognise the selfless work of our educators and healthcare workers on the front line in our communities and thank them for their ongoing service in these difficult times. Let's now hear from Matthew Ricker, our Acting CEO.
Thank you, Bernie, and a privilege to speak with our members and guests this afternoon. Assisting our customers and the wider community to own their own home is an important value proposition for Bank First, and we've had a specific focus supporting our first home buyers in their home purchase journey through our participation in the government's First Home Lenders Deposit Scheme, our First Start shared equity arrangement, and our Home First tool. We have an ongoing commitment to deliver great customer experiences, and by listening to what our customers are saying, we have worked together across the organisation to resolve many customer pain points. This has involved a continued investment in our technology, including artificial intelligence, robotic process automations to automate repetitive and manual processes, improvements to our cybersecurity, and more recently, the introduction of Apple and Google Pay. All of these enhancements enable us to deliver better and more consistent experiences for our customers. Building upon and maintaining Bank First's sound financial position continued to be a focus in the 2020 financial year. The results outlined in this slide reflect a well-managed bank for our members in difficult conditions. Despite a historically low interest rate environment and significant economic uncertainty caused by the impact of COVID-19, Bank First remains well placed to deliver further growth and financial stability. Our primary focus has been and will continue to be on navigating the bank, its people and customers through the ever-changing COVID-induced economic uncertainty. Customers facing hardships are being assisted through this uncertain period, and we expect this to continue into the new calendar year. Our financial performance for the year ended the 30th of June 2020 has been good, and Bank First faces the future in a confident frame of mind. I'll now hand back to our chair, Bernie Lloyd.
Thank you very much, Matthew. So the meeting formalities will now commence. For those members who have not voted ahead of the meeting, the poll is open for you to cast your votes on items of business. The poll will remain open until the end of member questions, at which point I will close the poll. Results of the poll will be published on the Bank First website following this meeting. You may also ask a question during the course of the meeting. The questions will be addressed at the end of the meeting and after all items of business have been dealt with, but not before the end of the poll. I propose that the notice of meeting be taken as read, as the notice has been sent to all members. The second item of ordinary business is for me to declare the minutes of the 47th Annual General Meeting held on November 14, 2019, which have been received and confirmed. The third item of ordinary business is the tabling of the report of the Board of Directors, the financial statements and the auditor's report for the year ended June 30, 2020. I now invite Joanne Dawson, our Chair of Audit, to speak to the financial report.
Thank you, Bernie. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity to make a few brief comments in relation to the financial statements for the year ended the 30th of June 2020. Further to our CEO's presentation, which outlined the successful year from many viewpoints, not least a very sound financial performance in extremely tough market conditions, COVID, the resultant economic uncertainty, and historically low interest rates have all been challenges for our bank over the last 12 months. The Audit Committee has a prime duty to thoroughly review the financial statements in conjunction with management and the external auditor, and to make recommendations to the board on those accounts. In summary, I can report as follows. Our external auditor, Deloitte, whose appointment was confirmed at our annual general meeting last year, have issued an unqualified report on the financial statements. As part of our audit, the assessment of internal controls was considered satisfactory, and there were positive risk assessments attaching to significant areas of audit focus. There were no outstanding issues requiring action by the board prior to approving the financial statements. We continue to have favourable discussions with APRA, our banking regulator. The consolidated net profit after tax for the year was $9.4 million, a commendable result in the very competitive low interest rate environment we find ourselves. Additionally, a new accounting standard relating to provisions for credit losses was implemented during the year, and this also impacted our profit. Our capital position remains strong and in accordance with APRA's regulated capital requirements. The Audit Committee thanks our management team and staff for once again their impressive efforts in meeting our extensive reporting, compliance and financial risk management obligations in these challenging times. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll now hand back to our Chair. Thank you, Bernie.
Thank you, Joanne. We will now move on to the remaining items of business. For the next two motions, I will hand over the meeting to my Deputy Chair, Graham Willis, who will announce the results of the Director election.
Thank you, Bernie, and good afternoon to all our members and guests. Regard to the Directors' elections, this year there was an uncontested election for the two vacant positions. The current incumbents, Bernadette Lloyd, Chair of the Board, and Judith Crowe, both sought re-election. No other candidates came forward to stand for election, and both candidates passed the Nominations Committee fit and proper interview. On this basis, I declare that Bernadette Lloyd is duly elected as the Director of Bank First in accordance with Clause 2.2b of Schedule 2 of the Constitution, and further declare that Judith Crowe is duly appointed as the Director of Bank First in accordance with Clause 2.2b of Schedule 2 of the Constitution. And with that, Bernie, I'll hand back to you for the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Graham. The next items of business are the ordinary and special resolutions. I will remind members that the poll is open for you to cast your vote on all these items of business and will remain open until I declare the poll closed at the end of the meeting. This resolution pertains to the appointment of Jo Dawson in August 2020. Jo has been a highly valued Director of the Board for 6 years and is currently the Chair of Audit. In August, the Board agreed to reappoint her to the Board until November next year. So the resolution is that the appointment of Ms Joanne Dawson as a Director is confirmed. The Corporations Act requires that this appointment be confirmed at the next Annual General Meeting after the Director's appointment. And so to Ordinary Resolution number 2. This resolution pertains to the appointment of Mark Devidasan to the Board in January 2020. You will have read in eSlate and heard from Mark himself that he brings a distinct and highly impressive profile to the Board, which encompasses significant banking experience as well as commitment to social justice issues and projects. I'll just hold off. I've just got a mark on this screen, but I don't think it just says mark. There is no operation, just a standby message. That's fine. Okay, so it's probably just to do with our screen. Sorry, just checking. Okay, no. All right, the resolution is, I beg your pardon for that interruption, that the appointment of Mr. Mark David Arson as a director is confirmed. The Corporations Act requires that this appointment be confirmed at the next annual general meeting after the director's appointment. I'm sorry, you can probably see me, but I've just got a blank screen in front of me here. So if you just bear with me, there it is there. Okay, so now to our one special resolution. You will, as members, have received the notice of meeting and explanatory memorandum providing the details and background to this proposed resolution. This is a resolution to modify our constitution, which of course we don't do lightly. However, as a brief reminder, Bank First is a mutual entity under the Corporations Act, and under new legislation is now able to issue mutual capital instruments, or MCIs, subject, of course, to amending its constitution by special resolution. An MCI is a new type of share in a mutual entity. These proposed constitutional amendments will enable Bank First to issue MCIs in future if it is desirable to do so, while still protecting Bank First's mutual status. If Bank First decides to issue MCIs, it will remain a mutual because holders of MCIs will have limited rights. A demutualisation will not be triggered by either making the proposed amendments or by issuing MCIs. So the resolution is as follows: to consider and, if thought fit, to approve a special resolution submitted by the Board of Directors to amend Bank First's constitution to permit issuance of mutual capital MCIs, mutual capital instruments, or MCIs. I would like to remind members that the poll is now open for you to vote on all items of business and will remain open until I declare the poll closed at the end of this meeting. Then results of the poll will be published on the Bank First website following this meeting. I would now like to go to any member questions, please. Over to you, Emily. Are there any questions there?
Yes, thank you, Chair. We have a question from Mr. Anthony Gooden. Please clarify what MCIs mean at a beginner level. Are we effectively enabling the bank to go on the stock market and or raise capital via the selling of shares? I am unclear of the advantages for members. Please give examples geared at the member level.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gooden. As I explained quickly earlier, mutual capital instruments are a new form of share that allows investors to invest in mutual organisations with a social purpose, like Bank First. Unlike shares issued by the major banks, MCIs are a type of share that is tailored to the capital needs of mutuals for raising long-term capital, for the acquisition of long-term assets or investments, for example, the upgrade of a core banking system. It is not intended to be used for speculative purposes or traded on the stock exchange with a view of generating a trading profit. It is a type of share that will provide stable returns to investors over a long period, with mutuals selling the shares at face value. It does not affect, as I've said, the mutual status of Bank First. We will continue to be a member-owned organisation. Holders of MCIs would not have any greater entitlement than each shareholding members. Is there another question there, Emily?
Yes. From Mr. Nathan Skerry. I would like to know what can be done in regards to opening an account for a child and providing education about saving and how money works. Having opened 2 accounts, one for each of my children, I was disappointed that nothing was provided.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Skerry. Maybe, Matthew, you would like to respond to this.
Yes, thank you, Bernie. Thank you, Mr. Skerry. We have print newsletters which contain banking tips designed to help teach children about money. These get mailed to customers quarterly. There's two of them. One's called Making Sense for children aged 8 to 13, and there's a second one called Dollars and Cents for children ages 14 to 17. In addition to this, our Slate and eSlate monthly newsletters have information about financial literacy and target different age groups every month. So hopefully you'll find some items of use in there. Thank you for your question.
Another question, Emily?
Yes, we have a question from Mr. David Wilson. With whom and how does Bank First share user data? And has your privacy policy been reviewed to allow this?
Thank you, Mr. Wilson. We actually recently undertook a detailed assessment of our public-facing applications internally and with the assistance of external specialists. The assessment focused on identifying and assessing the use of third-party tracking and analytics libraries to identify issues which may have an impact on member security or privacy. The assessment established that although there are a large number of third-party trackers utilised by our website, i.e. www.bankfirst.com.au, no personally identifiable information was found to be sent to any third-party tracking server from any tracker found during that assessment. Another question, Emily?
Yes, we have a question from Mr. Greg Bromwich. Given the ongoing length of COVID-19 restrictions and the inevitable stress it has placed on Victorians, could the Chair outline what steps Bank First has taken to help support and manage the mental health and well-being of its staff?
Matthew, I think you might be in a better position to answer that. It certainly has been a major consideration for us all. Would you like to respond?
Yes, thank you, Bernie. Yes, this has been a major focus for us. We've placed a strong emphasis on the health and well-being of our people. This has included programs such as mindfulness, an employee assistance program with direct access for our people, Are You OK? And Stress Down Days. We've participated in sleep awareness programs, happiness initiatives, and various physical activity to drive well-being are some of the examples. Throughout this whole period, we've also formally and informally maintained contact with our people. We've used surveys, and from that, it indicates a high level of alignment and connection with our people whilst they've been working remotely. This has been achieved through regular dialogue and open dialogue with our leaders through a formal psychological safety initiative. We've also adjusted our onboarding program to reflect the remote nature of work and enhance the new staff members' connection and belonging with Bank First, as we have had a number of staff members join us during this period.
Another question, Emily?
A question from Mr. Rod Fuller. How is Bank First going to continue to attract its retiree members' savings now that interest rates are so low?
Good question. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Maybe Matthew, back to you again.
Yes, thanks, Bernie. Yes, Mr. Fuller, at Bank First, as was outlined earlier, we exist to financially empower our customers to realise their dreams, and hence, despite falling interest rates, we continue to focus on helping customers manage their money in a way that suits their needs. We've continued to offer competitive interest rates on both lending and deposit products. And in addition, we offer personal financial advice services through our financial planners to provide our customers with more choices to realise their financial goals. And I would certainly encourage any of our members that are thinking about a less low interest rate environment, that speaking to a good financial advisor is a very, very good option.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Matthew. Emily?
Another question from Mr. Earl James. Bank First currently uses Inju Limited's services. Inju is the provider of the cashless welfare card, which is causing enormous harm, especially to Indigenous communities. Will the board investigate alternative partners to Inju?
Thank you very much, Mr. James. For those of you who do not know, Inju is a bespoke payment services provider that Bank First has a commercial relationship with for the provision of transaction processing and fraud monitoring services. Bank First is not involved in the issuance of the cashless debit card, which, as you say, Mr. James, is generating some heated debate. It is a card which is currently being trialled by the Commonwealth Government. The purpose of the trial is to assess whether it can assist in the reduction of social harms in areas where there are significant numbers of welfare recipients. We regularly review our commercial relationship with all of our material service providers, and we will do so within due when the current contractual arrangement falls due. As part of that process, we ensure that our values are appropriately aligned and that the services provided continue to meet the needs of Bank First and our customers. Any further questions there, Emily?
No, Chair, there are no further questions.
Oh, look, I'd like to thank you for your questions and hope that they've all been addressed to your satisfaction. Your Board of Directors is always interested in hearing from you about your member experience, and we're committed to listening and working towards continual improvement for you. I will now advise that I'm closing the poll. I will wait a further 30 seconds before closing. The poll for all resolutions is now closed. This slide in front of you shows the pre-meeting voting position for each resolution. The total vote tally, including the online poll results, will be published on the Bank First website following this meeting. So that completes the formal part of our meeting. But before I close the meeting, I would like to speak to you about William Walke. Whenever I meet someone who does not know much about Bank First, I usually begin by saying, you know, we have a great story. Almost 50 years ago, some far-sighted teachers met and decided to start their own financial institution because banks at that time did not serve the needs of young people, of women, especially single women with children, or anyone actually who didn't meet their approved profile. What started out as a float of $480 is now a bank with $3 billion under asset management. And now another chapter of this inspiring story is closed with William's leave-taking. 26 years ago, the Walke family made their way across the world to Australia from South Africa. What bravery and foresight that must have taken. 6 years after this, William became the CEO of then Victoria Teachers Credit Union. Under William's leadership, assets under management have increased sixfold. That small credit union grew to become the 12th largest mutual bank in the country. William will be remembered for his integrity, for his commitment to who we are, as well as the obvious sage and diligent fiduciary management of your finances. He surrounded himself with an extremely capable leadership team and guided us through some challenging times, the current context a case in point. William was a wonderful steward of our bank. He has left Bank First in a strong and innovative position in the Australian mutual sector. William embodied our values and moved us on, never losing sight of that early vision of our forebears. So, on behalf of the whole board, management team and staff at Bank First, we wish Mr. William Walke all the very best for his retirement and trust he will flourish in his world beyond work. And so to the future. With William's retirement comes the exciting announcement of the appointment of a new CEO for Bank First, Michelle Bagnall. Michelle is currently in the process of relocating her family to join us in the new year. Here is a video message from Michelle.
Hello, I'm Michelle Bagnall, and I'm honoured that your board has chosen me to be your next CEO. As I come into the role, I'm really conscious that we're in challenging times, but I also know that I'm joining a bank with immense strength and a really bright future. And as we build that future together, I know that we're building it on a strong legacy and a strong history, but we're also building it together for the future. And that's at the top of my mind. How do we actually leverage the strength of our membership and of our people at Bank First? So I am looking forward to coming home to Melbourne and bringing my children home. I know that it will be a different environment to the one I left a few years ago, but we are very excited to be coming home. And I look forward to getting to know the people of Bank First, but also the opportunity to meet as many of you as possible, our members. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. I now declare the 2020 AGM closed. A webcast of this meeting and all poll results will be available on the Bank First website in the coming days, as I've already told you. In the meantime, please keep safe and well, and we wish you all the very best.